Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Quantum News Freedom International live stream and happy Thanksgiving. So it's good to start with that greeting because especially in American tradition, and I think it has influenced other traditions as well that they celebrate Thanksgiving Day. So this is special day, although I promoted it or posted it first that Kevin Jenkins will be with us. But, we think of him today because he's under the weather. So hopefully he gets better quickly. But most of us get sick at times. But because we have a holistic lifestyle and we know what to use in terms of supplements, herbs, and mindset, well, I'm sure Kevin will get better quickly. So also, last time we had a lot of tech problems, so I trust that it won't be like this today. Yeah. So on this Thanksgiving Day, it's really special. I was telling Roy earlier that when he was asking what I'm gonna do, most of the time I find this day like I find it myself that I want to be more contemplative or meditative or just like trying to examine my life and what I've been doing or what I can contribute more. So this is where the four of us will have our own spin of what we think about the active gratitude in turbulent times. If when we find where we find strength amid wars and injustices. So here we reflect the power of active gratitude. So we all know that there's the whole world, there are so many wars, so wars that have been going on for either I think almost centuries, and some wars we don't even know. Like you go going on. It depends on how the media puts it and advertises it. So we don't know. And for me, it's not just and the rest of my team, with like Roy, Coughlan, and Hartmut and Drago. I'll put their names later on. And it's more than just a feeling. It's the gratitude becomes like that energy in motion when because that's emotion and that feeling goes into emotion, which is really energy in motion. So and because of that feeling, it kind of challenges me or puts me into that mode of really acting upon what I'm being thankful for. So it becomes transformative. So I wanted to share that theme that for in Thanksgiving Day and in any moments that you be thankful, let it be a transformative power for resilience and solidarity. And before I pass it on to all my comrades here, I'm always the flower in the middle of all these good-looking guys. I want to share to them that there are some verses in different traditions, which I would like to emphasize that although it is American tradition, but that word gratitude is not a it's not like only for Americans. So in the Bible, it says, Paul reminds us, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And that's in 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 18. Then in Quran, it teaches, if you are grateful, I will surely increase you. That's in Surah Ibrahim, chapter 14, verse 7. Then Confucius once said, a noble person is mindful of virtue and gratitude. Then from the Native American wisdom, we are reminded, give thanks for unknown blessings already on their way. See, okay? And of course, in the Hebrew tradition, the Psalms declare, enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. That's Psalms chapter 100, verse 4. So today we really explore gratitude far from being passive, and it is an active stance, a tool to find strength, compassion, and connection even as the world faces pain. So let's journey together. We could share what we have experienced on our personal lives and also what we have read. Because many times when I'm looking at the videos, it really breaks my heart. And then remember, oh, it's Thanksgiving. When we go to our families with lots of food and we're grateful, then of course, I can't help it to think about those who are falling in line, like in Gaza or in Lebanon, and they're wounded, but they have to get some food. So anyway, even if we share those things, we want to keep this really a happy moment that we are together, even from a distance. Okay, so thank you for my company today, and Kevin, feel better. And in memory also of Scott Bennett, who's been a friend for for us even a short time. I really think that he's such a gentleman, even when I approach him to be our guest, and he's just right on the money when he speaks. So may he rest in peace, and may his family be at peace. So, guys, carry on and let's have a conversation of what's your take on the active gratitude in turbulent times. And how's everyone's family? Okay, so who wants to start? Go ahead.
Well, I'll start. I suppose. I mean, first of all, we don't do like I'm Irish living in Poland. We don't do the Thanksgiving on this day, but I mean, I've got a load of friends that are in America, so I'm always kind of respectful of what they do. For us, it's Christmas is when we celebrate, and I kind of do my planning, like you said, you're doing it now, Grace. I do that at the end of the year. So my family, my mother's going to come over for 3 weeks. We're going to have a nice time together. My brother's going to come down from Holland for a week, and we spend a lot of time together. And to me, that's the most important with my son as well. And I love that. And what I would just like to touch, because a lot of times with kind of all the stuff that's going on, if you're writing about it, because sometimes whatever's going on in the world, just you can either be quiet about it or you can actually do something about it. And sometimes people are writing about it and expressing their concern, and then they're attacked. And what I would say from my experience as a podcaster for 7 years now at this stage, don't engage, because you think you can change somebody's mind, but you can't. So just ignore it, delete it, or report it when it's negative, and stay in the positive. Surround yourself with positive people, just like I have here at the table. And I suppose what I could say is, regarding my journey for gratitude, I lost everything with real estate around 2011, 2012. I had over 100 court cases, and it was a guided meditation that helped me. So what I did is I was thinking, grateful. What am I grateful for? Grateful to have a roof over my head. Grateful to have a cuddle off my child. Grateful my parents were supporting me. Instead of thinking of the negative, because I know there's a lot of people going through different turbulent times, and even now as well, like think of Christmas and if they can spend it. So just think of what you're grateful for. And you can buy your child a deck of cards, Uno or something like that, for a few bucks, and sit down and play with them. You don't have to buy the $500 dollar computer that you think you need to. So a child needs your time and presence, and that will help. And the other thing that helped me with all the stuff that I went through was forgiveness. So the act of forgiveness, like a lot of, I mean, I know everybody with business, and we've all gone through different, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business partner, whatever it is, we've all had. And with me, when I lost it, because I was personally liable, what happened is I was the president of a lot of companies, and they made me personally liable for 5 million. And I was trying to forgive them. And how I did it in the end, you can forgive some people because you're holding the pain, you're holding the anger. And what I did is I actually brought him back to the child. I said, we have unconditional love for a child, brought him back to the baby. And we're actually, you just coo at a baby. And I said, what happened then is somebody, whether they had alcoholic parents, abusive parents, or their parents were working so hard they didn't pay attention, and then they became who they did. And by me doing that, I was able to give forgiveness. So I would encourage everybody, if you're holding hatred for anybody, try to do that exercise. And what it does is it actually frees it from within you, and then you become free. So that's my little spew for today. So Hartmut or Drago, you might take it next.
Yes. I see it from a point of from a religious point of view. The interesting thing is, we think many times we think that we are educated from the church that we are not good people. Yeah. For example, if you think about the prayer, and forgive us our sins and deliver us from evil. And there is what's the verse is now? What's the phrase in English? The interesting thing is when I read this prayer, when I analyzed the prayer, then there was this. Then I found out that in the last two sentences of this prayer, if you really analyze it, then you think, wait a minute, an Almighty Father would never contemplate to put me in a position so that I maybe go the wrong path. So love is something where you want to care about. And we have to think in good on evil. But the good thing is in us and the evil thing is outside. And in the moment when we think, in the moment when we understand that the good thing, that we are the good ones, and it's our job to bring this good and through in this world, many things change. And to go through these anxieties, this is our job. We cannot hide these anxieties. We have to go through it. And gratefulness is a tool. I told it before. I saw a series on Netflix. It was Murder Mindfully, and it deals of a lawyer who learns mindfulness by living in the moment, practicing acceptance, developing clarity and focus, maintaining calm, taking responsibility, and being present. And then he used this in this video series in order to kill people in the mafia clan, in the mafia family. That doesn't matter. It works. So the interesting thing is, what I want to tell you is, we live in a very tough times. And if we want to get relaxed, then we can do this by mindful actions. For example, before we write down what we are grateful for, we can count 5 things that we can see, 4 things that we can hear, 3 things that we can touch, 2 things which we can smell, and 1 thing which we can taste. And through this exercise, you come in this now moment. And when you start, and when you make 3 deep breaths, count to 7, hold the breath for 4 seconds, and then count again to 8. You start to relax. And then you write down 3 things what you are grateful for, and 3 things what you are not able to change today. Yeah, we all have problems, and we think, oh, I don't get it done today. Yeah, write it down and accept it that you cannot change it. Yeah, if it happens. Yeah, so, and move on, and then you come in the now moment. And this is something what this bastards really anger. Stay alive to anger them. Yeah. I give to Drago. I will find a poem which I will present here. Okay, Drago, it's your turn.
Thank you, Hartmut. I mean, I'm not really an expert on these topics, but I really like what Roy and Hartmut said before me. What I could add probably ties into what also Roy mentioned regarding the family. Regardless if it's tough times, if it's good times, I think maintaining good relations with your family and friends and people who are close to you, your neighbors included, I think that's a very good way to make your community and your surroundings much better. And of course, this affects the person itself, the person who is simply living in the moment, who's affected by the things in our surroundings. And I think we have forgotten in this age of ultra individualism, we've forgotten the importance of the community, especially the family. And I think we talked about this in many of the previous episodes, how those who wish us harm have decided to destroy the family and destroy the not just the family unit but the community itself. And I think this is I think these evil entities, whoever they are, they realize by doing that they're pretty much destroying our lives. And I think cherishing and simply nurturing the relations in your life with all the people that you love and who love you, I think that's the most important aspect. Obviously, spiritual health is extremely important. It is the most important thing, probably. Unfortunately, we have lost the connection with our. We have generally been trained to think that the spiritual realm is not important, that it's too abstract to be understood, that it's anti-scientific even, and that it even should be eradicated in many of the cases of the militant atheism and the hatred towards God as a concept, not just the God as a personality, but also as a concept. So I think spiritual help in that regard is invaluable because it helps us a lot more than going to see a shrink, for example, because I don't know if anyone has ever been treated and cured by a shrink, but I do know a lot of people who have been cured by following the spiritual life and simply ensuring that they are healthy spiritually, where they would find a connection with a higher being, whoever that higher being may be in their belief. I would call it God. Someone would call it nature. I guess it's all individual in that regard. But I think it's important, and I think it's probably the first thing that every person should do. And then, of course, the communities themselves would be a lot more robust and capable of pushing back against those who would want to destroy all that.
Thank you, gentlemen. So here's a statement, and maybe something we could reflect on. Can gratitude be a moral compass for justice? And let's say, I guess to explain more, can gratitude inspire individuals to pursue justice? Because when we think of what we have, we are blessed with, right? Let's say the example of just having an iPhone or the cell phones that we have. People have discovered that, sacrificed that, and if we know what's going on in the Africa in order to make that cell phone of that happen. So we're grateful for that. But can that inspire us to do more for those who are affected with the injustices there? And sometimes we have to think of that like in terms of the expression "pay it forward." So, what's your thought on that?
In my opinion, gratefulness or gratitude is like jet fuel or gasoline. We are bombarded with frequencies, we are bombarded with energies, and also with a lot of negative stuff. And we are, let's say, like cows produce milk, the human beings produce emotions and thoughts and visualizations. And with the visualizations, for example, and our screen, what we are looking, our TV is at the end, it's a manifestation screen. What we watch in the screen, we will connect with emotions and we will create a morphogenetic field. Think about Big Brother is watching you. When all the people watch Big Brother and got curious about what people do during the dark, it's creating curiosity. And now we are watched everywhere. We have everywhere cameras. The same is with criminal series, police series. Yeah, we have so many police series in Germany like no other country, and in all countries we are going to become a police state. So this is the power of visualization. And if we are grateful, in that moment we can put shame beside. We can put the shame aside, and we have the possibility to create something new. And to look around the negativity. This is our job. If we focus on the negativity, then we will like a motorbike driver, we will crash, like driving against a stone. But if we look beside the stone, we have the chance to overcome this problem. And the point is, if we are in a very low frequency, because the problems are completely overwhelming, in that moment we are not able to see the solutions. Our frequency from ourselves is so low that we are only in the problem, and we cannot see from a detached point of view what the solution could be in this moment. So by increasing the gratitude, we push ourselves in a situation or in a position so that we can see the situation from a detached viewpoint in order to see the solution. And this is very important for realizing and creating something on this planet.
Thanks, Hartmut. And I was gonna, doesn't gratitude also encourages humility and awareness of shared humanity, which is foundational for justice? And I would like to ask Roy, how did you, when you were practicing that act of forgiveness, in combination with gratitude, did you have that feeling that you are better than them?
Never. I never, and I think even now, because I look at, there's people that are like, they have pure hatred for some of the people in the world. And when you dig deeper to find out what's happened, there's sometimes that they have been abused, and they've worked with their brain and this kind of MK Ultra and everything. So I think we have to have forgiveness, because sometimes people think, well, we remove them and everything will be hunky-dory. And the reality is we have to have forgiveness and show love, and also create things that are on the positive, because instead of fighting, say, Big Pharma, or fighting the social media platforms, just create something that works, that's nice, because what will happen, the nice people will navigate towards it, and they won't have the fuel to feed them for the other stuff. And like, even today, I don't listen to the news. I just find it's such a strange thing. But when I was coming back from dropping my son to school, the Polish news came on. And I just said, I'll practice my Polish, I'll listen. And straight away it's telling me about a car crash and the amount of people that died. Have you ever listened to the news and you went, wow, I'm glad I listened to that, I feel a lot better? It's orchestrated to put you down, so don't listen to it. The same with the newspapers. There was a time you'd look at a newspaper and you know what's going on in life and business and everything. It's not like that. It's usually about doom and gloom. So when you surround yourself with positive people and you just go to events with positive, I know Grace goes to a load of different things, all positive, you start hearing great things that are happening in the world. Like, I had a guy, I met him on Lunch Club, and he's after creating a game that's going to help children 7 to do multiplication at age 12. He's got a Guinness Book of Records thing already on it, because it's like so many games inside in one box. And like, you will never hear that on the news. So all I say is, just watch who you're doing. If someone is sucking your energy, just get out the scissors and cut the ties, because you'll build another bridge with someone nice, and all the different people that you surround yourself with.
Thank you. And the thing that came onto my mind again, and this particularly for Drago, is that you've been busy really analyzing, getting all this information, and it's I'm sure you have to go into all the little nitty gritty details that even it really touches your heart. And but then you see all those videos as well, and maybe not just videos. You meet people, right? That they have that gratitude in the absence of justice. I say that because they are continuing, they are in the same situation again and again, but yet you see those moments that they come together. So, just share me some thoughts on how do they do that, or what's your conversation with them when justice is distant. How can gratitude be a sustaining force? I guess that's the key, right? It becomes. So share us your thoughts, Drago. We don't have to be experts on gratitude.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. That's a good question. Um, I mean, as you said, there are many, many things that are negative in the world, unfortunately. But I think it depends on how you see the world, and it also has to do something with where you come from. I think many people in the West, especially in Europe and North America, uh, they don't realize how lucky they are with their material wealth that enables a very comfortable life. I'm talking strictly physically. Um, and you know how they say you always have the same amount of problems regardless of your living condition. I think this is pretty much what has gone down in many of these Western countries. Because, as you said, we see people who live in extreme poverty, and still they don't suffer from depression. We can see that depression and or extreme, severe clinical depression is far more prevalent in some of the most developed countries and societies in the world. And we can also see that by the suicide rate, which are far higher in countries which are essentially some of the richest in the world. So we the proof that happiness and the understanding of how life works, it, it's a state of mind, and it's not always connected to the material wealth of a person. Um, Perhaps there is someone who lives in the Himalayan mountains who lives in a hut and doesn't even know what electricity is, but he or she is far happier than any of us, or even a billionaire who lives in a mansion. So I think, as I said, um, such people certainly understand life, and I think they understand gratitude far better than someone who is ultra individualistic, who thinks that they deserve something. I think it's important to understand that we do not deserve anything, because that's essentially a self-centered viewpoint. Everyone, we could say everyone deserves everything, right? In a perfect world, we'll all have everything that we need. But the truth is, we are actually given everything by a higher power. And as I said, that higher power, you can name it whatever you want, but the higher power is the one giving to you. And if you're not grateful, you cannot expect anything. And I think this is pure physics. I mean, if you have a friend and he keeps helping you or she keeps helping you, and you're not saying thank you, you're simply taking it for granted. At some point, they will say, "Okay, I don't feel like this is you're appreciating anything I'm doing, so I'm just going to stop doing it." So in that regard, I think it's pretty obvious that if you don't practice gratitude, you cannot expect anything good, because whatever you're given, it's given by someone else. If it's regardless if it's a family member or friend, or again, as I said, a higher power.
Just on, you mentioned the mansions. There was a friend of mine, and basically himself, his wife, and his two kids, they were kind of late teens. They decided they want to just sell up everything and move around the world and basically like house it for people. So they'd go and mind their dog and things like that, so they wouldn't have to pay, but they were having a great experience. And what he told me is that when they were staying in mansions, they were disconnected, and it was the smaller house was the best thing because they were sitting around the table, they were spending time together. So sometimes people think, I want this big mansion, and you really need it. All you need is to be connected.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%.
So, Grace, you're asking us all questions. What I'd like to say is, I mean, I think you look fantastic, right? I'd even said I want to have a show where you're talking about how you've maintained the look like you're 40 when you're not 40. And I think it's about being so positive and energetic. But can you give people some secrets how they could reverse their aging?
Well, thank you. Well, that's one secret is to smile and laugh a lot. That's one. Although, yeah, but to really be in touch with your emotions. If you want to be, if you want to cry, be angry, do that. Don't be suppressing too much. But of course, you have to kind of do it if you have to be in private. So thank you, Roy. And so that one of the things that I'm grateful for, really. And I always say to everyone else, and from the beginning of the podcast, and that's why I said, yeah, I'm a nurse, and yet I wanted to talk about geopolitics. I said, yeah, because that's connected to my health. But my health is the foundation of everything that I can do and pursue all my dreams. So I'm very thankful that from the very beginning, I didn't allow, even if I was already studying as a nurse in Western medicine, I didn't fully subscribe to the fact that when you have your one diagnosis, that's it, like as hypertension. It was a big deal before that once you take your medication, you can never get off any hypertensive medication. And I said, connected to what Drago said, I said, oh, that can't be. There's a higher power. There's that source. That's their God. It can't be that. And just what Hartmut said, it can't be that that's what meant for me to be sick forever. So that's why. That's one thing. And there was I had a Sunday school teacher who kind of, I like it when he said, you know what grace means? He said, that's God reaches at Christ's expense. Oh, then I like that again because it's connecting me to someone higher. So that's like my foundation for my mindset, which when you have that foundation, it seems like you are led to other things. And Hartmut mentioned it that we have that morphogenetic fields. And in that morphogenetic fields, if you are aligned with higher frequencies, vibrations and oscillatory frequencies, then it seems like you kind of like attract those things. So then it's like one knowledge to another, but basically that mindset foundation is a key. Then of course, I know that it's the lifestyle, so I said that. And I don't know, Roy, I just keep going. And I'm and earlier, Hartmut, you mentioned that you asked the AI about 10 things, 12 things to do. I was going to ask you, Hartmut, well, are you going to do that? Because sometimes that's what's important. When you know something that's good for you, then you do it. So like for me, I wasn't sure if we're going to do this podcast on the Thanksgiving, but I said, no, it's great to share this conversation. And of course, we've been so serious with a lot of conversation. So I don't want it light, but at the same time, it's not fully difficult not to think about the difficulty of others, right? So, and bringing that all back to what we said, and he said that when gratitude, it connects you to everyone. So that's why I started with sharing all that good thoughts and traditions and verses, because if we can think of that, then maybe we'll really find the solution for that. So it's crucial. And I think I wanted to say that I'm always, there's one, let's say, role model that whom I really respect, and he said to us, always end with a thank you. So I get it into the habit that when I text, when I message, and Drago, you always do that too. So I know you didn't have to know the person I referred to, but always end up with thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, no matter what. Sometimes if you're pissed and you're mad, you say thank you. Thank you. Whatever that sounds. And that's back to higher frequencies. we're talking about other people earlier, about like mentioning those who were ahead of the times, like Dr. Klinghardt, who understands what frequency is all about. So if we can understand that too, so we start from inside and then bring it outside. So I hope that should be good for now, Roy. But anyway, then it leads you to really good, about supplements, about good food and relationships. Even you can, when you have that, when it doesn't happen to me, like if I'm inviting someone and it doesn't happen, I just say thank you, because you never know why you're not connected to that person. Okay. And then when it happens, you connect and you're still doubtful. And I just step in there and I just say, thank you. So maybe that leads me to understand the other people's situations and for me as well. So, and anything.
Well, one thing that might help people as well is I'm a very calm driver and I don't act up. And like the reason being is I don't know what's going on in the other person's car. I don't know, is there a child screaming? Has the person learnt of something bad? And yeah, you get the odd idiot that does something dangerous. That's different. But I'm talking about, people just get aggressive and everything. And if you can remain calm, and that goes to every kind of situation, whether there's confrontation, if you can keep your peace, the person might verbally abuse it. And if you can just keep cool, their fuel burns out and then they start getting embarrassed. Whereas what most people are used to is you retaliate by screaming back. But when you learn the power of that, and I kind of put that down to maybe breath work as well. There's different types of breath work that you can start using. It helps you to be really calm and not reacting. And when you learn not to react, and it's the same with, politics and religion, and everyone is battering whoever posts something or says something. Don't. Just, even if you don't agree with somebody, just sometimes even just try to find out why they have that thought process. And sometimes for me to get my message across, sometimes I can say, I used to believe this because, and give my story instead of just, because sometimes people are kind of pushing what their belief system is. And then all they're doing is aggregating something and the wall goes up straight away. Whereas I say, I used to actually believe this because bum, bum, bum. But no, because of ABC, I have this belief. And the difference is unbelievable. And people start to be open to it rather than trying to ram it down their throats. So there are just a few things that I think will help people in today's society.
I would like to mention something. Truth is the real beauty often hidden under the skin. So, at the end, it's all about, let's say, what we are experiencing here in this on this earth is a war between ugliness and beauty. And gratitude is the first step in order to create something beautiful. And if we talk here about higher frequencies and all this stuff, and then sometimes I question myself, how can I increase my energy? The interesting thing is we don't have to. We think in the esoteric world, mostly is mentioned that love is the greatest power on this planet. It's not. There's a power which is more powerful than love, and this is authenticity. If you are authentic, then comes the love. And this is also a problem in our societies. For example, if someone lives in a poor area, he can be authentic because he has nothing to lose. In our world, this is an invisible prism. We get so formed that we cannot be authentic anymore. And this is a prison which makes us depressed. So when I worked as a coach and I asked my clients, do you really want that I coach you? Because if you got a problem less, your environment will have a problem more because you don't fit anymore in their world, because you you expand your borders. And that's how it is. Yeah. Give a FUCK what the other people think. Be authentic and go your own path or go your own way. And let's see what happens. Then you can create something from a beauty which you haven't thought about. And it's never too late. Yeah, that's my word. Thank you.
Drago, you want to share anything more?
Well, I wouldn't know what to add to that, but I agree with both Hartmut and Roy, as I said before. I think it's important to be original, to understand. Every person is an individual, obviously, but we are also part of the collective. So sometimes it's very difficult to find the let's say the sweet spot between those two things. I think it's important not to be ultra individualistic, just like it's important not to be ultra collectivistic, because both are damaging in the end. So sometimes it's difficult to find the balance, but I think it is important, of course, to go your own way, of course, to take your own path. And of course, if you can find people who are going along the same path, even better, you will not be going alone.
I want to mention to this something. It's all about empathy, Drago. In the moment you in which you can be authentic, you have empathy. And that moment you go in communication. You can also become grateful. Yeah. So this, it's also another word. It's narcissism, psychopath against empathy. But only if you have a good connection to yourself, only if you are authentic to yourself, you can expect authenticity from other people. And you can go in communication and can look, can we work something out together or not? Yeah. This is, it takes courage to do these things, of course. And increasing the vibration is, in my opinion, something which is essential, because if we go on in the esoteric stuff, many people have heard something about an ascension of the planet Earth. Yeah. So what is the ascension? It's the increasing of the frequency. What happens if we have war around us? It decreases the frequency because it lays a layer around the planet of victimhood. You can see war, you can see starvation, you can see suffering, you can see torture as a layer of victimhood around the planet in order to decrease the frequency. I like to compare it with a pudding. Let's say you have a strawberry pudding, and in the strawberry pudding you have 8 billion very small chocolate puddings. So the strawberry pudding is a huge one, and it has a specific frequency, a slow one. Yeah, but these and many of these small chocolate pudding in this strawberry pudding, they have the same frequency like the big one, because they adapt themselves to the frequency of the big pudding. But there are other people who have the ability to be creative, to find a way to themselves. And in that moment, they raise their own frequency. And now imagine 8 billion small puddings in the strawberry puddings increase their own frequency. So the whole pudding will increase its frequency itself. And this is the ascension process. And in that case, for example, the reduction to 500 million people on this planet makes also sense, if you think in frequencies and energies. because 500 million have not so much power. We 8 billion. Yeah. So, and for this reason, gratitude is the door opener in order to create something beautiful on this planet. And we are all something like a musician in a huge orchestra. But we are not to play the instrument who we are. This is forbidden, more or less. And we become. I can make a comparison between a warrior and a slave. A slave does everything in order to survive, in the hope it will become better at some day. Normally, it doesn't work. And a warrior is he is happy if he knows when, or if he can control or discuss with someone when he can die, how he can die, and why he dies. And this is, and the difference between a warrior and a slave is the courage.
Thank you, Hartmut. I resonated to I resonate to what you've been saying, especially using that, cultivating and using that gratitude as it brings us to unfolding more of our true potentials. Because that's really, that's all I think that all of us would want to be, is to keep growing and evolving to really what the source wants us to be, and we are of our authentic self. So thank you for that.
I think I just want to add something to what Hartmut said about the mentality of a warrior and a slave. There's a very good Latin proverb that goes something like this: "Audentis fortuna iuat," which means fortune favors the brave. I think that's the correct translation. This is obviously we know what this means, and I think it is very, very important, because this is what differentiates an actual person, an individual, from a slave, as Hartmut said. And I think it's very important to be brave in life, because what we see often is this victimhood mentality that is being pushed on everyone. Everybody is, suddenly need to feel offended by everything, by what someone says or does. But I think we should be much, much tougher than that. I think we should realize that words mean nothing, and actions or acts of other people are what matters. And in that regard, I think if people reverted back to that sort of mentality, I think a lot of the problems that we have today would be resolved, because much of the neoliberal corruption of the world is based on the victim mentality that's being pushed on everyone. And especially, for example, if we look at the United States, on minorities that are virtually taught to be, to have the victim mentality, where they are simply blocked and incapable of moving forward, and simply improving the livelihoods of their community. And of course, I think any sort of community that it pushes itself into the victim mentality is essentially it's robbing itself of any future, any sustainable future. So I agree. As I said, I agree with what Hartmut said. I think bravery is extremely important.
I want to mention something to this victimhood. This is very important. We are all a pendulum, and if we are the victim on the one side, we are a perpetrator on the other side as well. And in the moment we are a perpetrator, in that moment we are narcissistic as full stop. Yeah. So the point is, as long as we think we are victims, we are perpetrators. This is something what we have to understand. And if you see how the minorities sometimes react, then you understand what I'm saying. And to get out of this victimhood is very important. It's the task of everyone. in my opinion, it's that we can also, it's really being on the life is something like being on a stage, and everyone around us is like an actor or an actress, and reflects our connection to ourselves, and let's say to ourselves, and also as a part in the game between good and evil. And if we can understand these things, and we can see that people can come to us in order to tackle us, in order, do you really want this, or do you want to go the other path again? Yeah. So in that moment, life becomes like a real adventure.
Agree.
So,
Rory, you want to say
well,
something?
yeah. Well, first of all, Hartmut, you're after making me hungry talking about all the pudding, but that's beside the point. With Ireland, because the Irish population was like about 10% or less than the British, yet they done, serious things. And I don't know exactly the wording, but one of the guys at the time, it was around 1920, was kind of like, as long as you keep fighting, as long as you keep having hope and don't throw in the towel, you will eventually succeed. And I think there's so many things going on in the world, we're not even aware of most of them, but it's like, don't throw in the towel, keep the fight going, you do what's right. And like, even I've just learned just a couple of weeks ago, my great grandfather was actually part of this thing in 1920. They tried to kill him a couple of times. I've got the documentation. It was in the newspaper and everything. He was an alderman. And, for me, it's inspirational to kind of know they didn't give up. They just kept fighting. And then they got their freedom when it should have been easy to just not give it. Like the fact that they'd done it. And what happened is, I believe, why it succeeded. Not only the Irish never actually gave up, but the journalists at the time were doing the right job. They were actually exposing this, and people were kind of writing and letting people know, which sometimes people say, I don't want to hear about this, they close their eyes. When you share the information and more of the world becomes aware of everything that's going, that's how you make change. So sometimes you just go, that's not my problem. If you can do something about it and share it, then that could be go to the country or go to the politician or go to a leader or go to just some person or some billionaire that just says, I've had enough of this. I don't want this to happen. And they can make the change. So everyone is responsible and can make it like it happened 100 years ago in Ireland.
Amen to that. That's a good one. So I want to thank also our sponsor for today, as it's Miss Julie, because she's a registered dietitian, and especially she's donating to the integrated mission. So I said, whoever donates becomes my sponsor, and I make a shout out. She's a registered dietitian and holistic health expert in California. So if anyone wants to get in touch with her, that's her website is juliehealth.com. So, and what are we kind of ready to close out, because I have few more statements I want to read. Okay, so but and anyway, I want to thank again everyone for sharing this moment with me. And really, Roy asked, what's my plan? It's really this and being contemplated at home and cleaning. I do a lot of organizing and cleaning on this day. So, and that's my information at graceasagra.com. So anyway, as we close, I'd like to also invite the audience once more that gratitude is more than words. You've heard it, and it's connected to many values that we have shared: these truths, authenticity, power, courage. So it's a way of living. So it's a light we carry into the darkest corners of the world. So in times of war, genocide, and injustice, gratitude does not deny the pain, but transforms it. And I said it earlier, it transforms it into a fuel for action. And, all of us have mentioned that as well, compassion and hope. So let me share this again. What I did is I took some words of wisdom from the different traditions. So the Bible urges us and says, Do not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And that's in Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Then the Quran reminds us, indeed, with hardship comes ease. And that's from Surah Ashra 94, verse 6. And Confucius taught, it does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. And the Native American tradition encourages us, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. So remember the children who have died, who are still surviving, who really needs that truth coming from us. And the Hebrew sages declared, the world is sustained by three things: justice, truth, and peace. So let gratitude drive us to seek justice, honor, truth, build peace, and may we rise each day with hearts ready to give thanks, not just for what we have. I have all of you, and it doesn't make me alone. And even if Kevin is not here, you are connected with us, Kevin, and all our favorite guests. And Matthew Eric would be happy to hear that word that you mentioned, Hartmut, when you said beauty and ugliness. He always talks about that. So I'll be happy, and so let us rise each day with hearts ready to give thanks, not just for what we have, but for the chance to make a difference. So, any last words from me, all of you? Feel free, and to our audience, I always say thank you.
Well, I'd like to say thanks to you, Grace, because we have the easy job. We just turn up. You actually organize 90 to 95% of the guests, and your sister creates the graphics. You schedule everything, and then you're doing all the posting, all the different flows and charts and everything. And it's not easy because it's very hard to actually be engaged in a conversation doing it. I tried. I can't actually be typing and stuff like that. So that's a hard skill to be doing. And I just want to be grateful for all you've done, because we've had fantastic guests, but we're sharing a load of information, and you've actually expanded it as well. Like Drago is coming on, and it's fantastic to have, that there's more of us, because at the start we had about 6, and slowly they went away. And it's brilliant that we're kind of having, like 4 to 6 different people and just different perspectives. And it's a pleasure to Hartmut. I mean, we know each other for a few years, and Drago, it's a pleasure listening to you. So I thoroughly enjoy this, and I look forward that for the next years going forward, that we keep doing it.
I second that 100%. I second that, and I agree with with Roy 100%. And I'm really grateful to all of you, and especially to you, Grace, for keeping us all together. And I don't have anything else to add, because Roy Tree said it all.
Anyone wants to make a shout out for a particular person, this is the best time. Yeah, Roy did it for my sister Patty, so shout out to her. Thank you for being my sister and best friend.
I just want to apologize, because I wanted to share a poem here on this podcast, and in general, I take this the German poem "Warning Against Self-Harm" from Erich Kästner, but I tried to translate it with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT has not the approval to do it, because it has emotional caution against self-destructive actions. So I'm sorry sorry that I couldn't give you the poem, because it's against the rules of ChatGPT, and this is the best example for think for yourself. Yeah. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
And shout out again to all our guests. We may have not mentioned your names right now, but trust me, that's why I keep asking you back, because that's how much we respect and love you. Joaquin, Vanessa, Alex, and many, many, many others. Okay, so
I wanted to actually mention Joaquin. Without him, I wouldn't be where I am now today. And he's been a great friend, of course, for years. And his help, in helping me, establish myself as a journalist and an analyst was invaluable. And certainly, I wouldn't be here, as I said. It wouldn't be possible for me to do the job that I'm doing, and also to many of my other colleagues who have helped me when I was just a rookie, essentially. So, I think this is very important. It's very important to appreciate the people who have helped you along the way and who have actually stayed your friend all these years. So that's one aspect of gratitude, I guess.
And good news, but maybe it will really happen. Someone just told me that the new administration is trying to plan that instead of inviting mainstream media or legacy media, they start inviting podcasters. So you guys keep keep sharpening your critical thinking, and you never know who will invite you to be in the truth telling media. And that's all good news. We give each administration, each new day, a chance for us to really make a difference. Okay, so please like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. If you can donate. If not, you take care of yourselves, because you can do more when you're healthy and when you're alive. As Hartmut said, stay alive wherever you go. And hugs from us. Take care.